from Brussels.
The problem with this kind of people whose ideology is very, very much linked to the theory of unicity of God of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, which is the founder, the theoretician of the Saudi monarchy. For those kind of people, it doesn't matter, for instance, in the case of Mali, whether it's something Islamic. Yes, the manuscripts they burned are Islamic, but they belong to an Islamic part, Islamic side they don't like. Not only they don't like, and I mean this kind, Sufism. For people linked to Al-Qaeda, to a jihadi movement, Sufism is heresy. It's not true Islam. So their aim is to destroy whatever is outside the right path. And for them, the right path is just Quran and the Sunnah, the Hadith of the Prophet. Whatever is not inside this path is heresy. If it's a man, it has to be killed. If it's a book, it has to be burned. And what's the main problem is that these kind of people are destroying their own culture.
Well, extremism is something which is there in any culture, which could be found there. But could it be that really, in reality, it has so little to do with faith?
I think that for Islamic extremism, culture, and other interpretations of Islam are a mistake. For instance, as far as Sufism is concerned, Sufism, which is the Islamic mysticism, which is the closest form of Islam to Christianity, for instance, for Sufis, and Sufis and Sufism are not just one thing. There are many sects, there are many ideas, there are many ways of being Sufi. But as a matter of fact, any Sufi says, I want to destroy myself to become God, to reach God and become God. And this means that for Islamic extremists like Al-Qaeda, jihadi people, and for some parts of the Muslim Brotherhood as well, this kind of reasoning is heresy. It's saying you become God, so since the Quran says there is no God outside except for Allah, if you become, and if you want to become one thing with God, even if the aim is an aim based on love, you are a polytheist. You are an unbeliever, so you have to be killed. And anything and anybody saying this has to be destroyed.
Valentina, but doesn't this kind of approach exasperate ordinary people who could be Muslims, but who are not that extreme?
You know, we don't have to forget that in Sub-Saharan Africa, there is it's not only Mali, but it's Senegal and other countries Sub-Saharan Africa. Islam, there are many scholars that have written this. Islam is Sufism. But in the last years, in the last 10 years, more or less, Wahhabism has been spreading thanks to money, thanks to mosques, thanks to some kinds of preaching. And so there is in Sub-Saharan Africa nowadays, there is a very strong fight between an imported kind of Islam, which is a very extreme Islam, a very literal, conservative kind of Islam, and native Islam, which is a perfect mixture of Islam, mysticism, animism, and it's very Sub-Saharan. It's very typical of the area. So what's happening, it's that there are many people coming also from the outside that want to kill history of Sub-Saharan Africa. They want to kill history, universal history, as it was the case for the Taliban and the Buddha. So there is no respect at all. The true Islam, it's me. But not only this, the natural, we don't have to forget, and we can read it in the Islamic Declaration on Human Rights, was signed in Cairo in the 90s. In one article, the declaration says, Islam is the natural religion of man. And for those kind of people, I mean jihadists and really extreme Islamists, this is very, very important. This is the starting point of every fight. So there's no matter whether you believe in Jesus, if you are a Christian, if you are a Buddhist, if you are a Sufi, that is a Muslim having a different kind of approach to religion as I have. But the problem is that I am the truth, and all the rest is nothing, and all the rest has to be destroyed. And it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. And this means that it's a fight not only between the West and Islam, but it's a terrible, dangerous fight inside Islam. So I think what I've been doing the last years, it's working on intellectuals. I think the time has come for the West to discover the reformers inside Islam. They are the only ones that can fight back that very dangerous kind of Islam, which is more dangerous for Muslims themselves than for Westerns. And I just take the opportunity to say that today, one of the most important reformers of Islam died in Cairo. His name is Gamal al-Banna. He was 93. He was the brother of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood. And his ideas were totally different from the ones of his brother. And today he died, and he wrote plenty of books, wonderful books, explaining that a reform can and has to be done inside Islam itself. Otherwise, they won't, and we won't go anywhere.
Those extremist approaches, they actually are running contrary to the Quran.
You know, the Quran is a text for every Muslim, is the word of God. It is a text revealed in the 7th century. So, of course, inside the Quran, you can find incitement to kill, incitement to use violence against women. You can find that women are the half of a man. You can find everything. You can also find tolerance if you want. But, of course, there is a part of the Quran, which is the part revealed in Medina. This is the second part of the Islamic revelation, in which Muhammad had to fight against the Meccans who didn't want to convert to Islam. So, and it was in the 7th century, it was the Arabian Peninsula, it was a Bedouin society. So killing and whatever, using violence was very normal. And the problem now is that reformers inside Islam say, okay, the Quran is the word of God, but we have to respect and we have to follow only the universal part of the Quran. That is monotheism, the respect of the other, tolerance, and whatever. As far as the jihadists are concerned, the whole Quran is the word of God, eternal, and it is still valid in all its parts. So when it says you have to kill the infidel, okay, you have to do it. It's not linked to the past. It's something you have to do it now because the word of God is eternal. So they just take it as it is, with no reasoning at all. The Quran is a text revealed in the 7th century, but still valid in the 21st century.
So, which means that they actually deprive the holy book of its holiness. When they're taking it so literally, they really tend to ignore the mystic aspect of the revelation, don't they? Yeah, of course. And the problem is, but there is the main problem of Islam, you know. The main problem of Islam is that there is no authority. So whoever, a jihadi, as an ordinary man, can read the Quran and say, okay, my interpretation is this one. And it's valid because there is no Islamic authority that can say the right interpretation of this Quranic verse is this one. So whoever can read the Quran and say, okay, for me, this verse means that I have to kill whoever is against Islam. I have to kill every Muslim that I believe doesn't follow the Islamic preaching, the Quranic preaching. So this is the main problem. Islam has no authority. Every Muslim, jihadi, ordinary, can understand, can read and act in an Islamic way on his opinion.
in his opinion, for him, is a good way of interpreting the Quran, but it's not true. A jihadi can read the Quran and say, I have to kill. An ordinary man or a reformer can read another verse of the Quran and say, the Quran says, and it's written in the Quran, that if you kill just a small insect, it is as though you killed the whole humanity. So you can find both things. So you just have to choose the one that suits you. And the problem is that they are really, when it comes to events like the one in Timbuktu of the library, the books burned, is that they are destroying people, history, and memory. And so they are destroying the past, but at the same time the future. And if they there is a saying of the Prophet saying that man has to seek knowledge, even though it is in China. So there are some sayings, Muhammad preaching, inviting to knowledge. And so why do you have to destroy knowledge? There is a wonderful 8th century writer. It's one of the most important writers of the Arabic literature. His name is Jahiz. And in the 8th century, he wrote a wonderful ode to the book. And it started saying, a book is a vase full of knowledge. And he was a Muslim. So I think it's really high time to rediscover this kind of Islam, this kind of culture, which is inside the Islam itself, and to spread this kind of knowledge inside among Islamic peoples. You know, it's a long-term project. But I keep on saying this. If we, with Muslim, Islamic, Arabic, whoever authorities, we don't start this kind of project, which is a cultural project, which is not a political project, which is not a religious project, but a project so that those people can rediscover past, their good past, when there is ignorance, poverty, and lack of instruction. It's very easy to spread this kind of ideas. If knowledge, if instruction, literacy goes further, I think that this could be the first step of victory. It's not easy, but it's the only way, culture.
Valentina, thank you so much.